Ramachandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 966. A happy Wednesday, happy hump day. We are live on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Anchor, Spotify, and all those other podcast platforms. So please, fans, tune in. I got a special one for you today. I am joined by ESPN host Skubie Mageza. He's a former college football player too, and also he worked for TV6 before he joined ESPN. Go check out his work, man. This guy, he's all over the social media world. He's big on Snapchat. He makes video reels. Man, he's everywhere, man. So go follow him on all social media formats. And Skubie, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. And first of all, how are you and your family doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Trying to stay warm and trying to stay healthy as possible, but just eternally grateful for everything that's going on because we're here today. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. So before I want to start off with your childhood growing up and tell our fans, tell a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and when you got interested in playing football and especially being in the sports industry too.
So I grew up in the Boston area, Revere, Massachusetts. It's about 10, 15 minutes outside of Boston. And I was originally born in Zimbabwe. I moved to Boston when I was 8 years old with just my mom and my brother. So we went over to Boston and we ended up living in this, apartment. It was like 6 or 8 of my family members that have also moved from overseas. Wow. And we were all living in a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's kind of how I grew up. I got that immigrant lifestyle. So fast forward, sports, I've always played sports. I played sports back in Africa. I was rugby, soccer, cricket, swimming, moved to the States. And my love for rugby kind of transferred into football. And then in high school, I was a basketball, football player and a track. I did track. And my dreams were, like most kids, to go to the NFL. Yeah. So I ended up, having a talk with one of my teachers who asked what I wanted to do. And I'm like, man, if I'm not going to the league, then I at least want to talk about it. Yeah. So that's how I kind of decided. I went into college knowing this is what I wanted to do. And I ended up playing college football because obviously I had league dreams, but you quickly realize, that's a lot harder than most people realize until you're actually in it. And play college football. I started all my 4 years over there, had a lot of injuries. My sophomore year, I played with a torn meniscus the entire year. But football's always been my love, and I studied communication, and that's kind of my sports background.
Wow, that's amazing. And for you, I want to talk about representing your country, Zimbabwe, and Africa. So what was it like playing sports there in Africa, and this how representing the kids there, and just playing rugby, and just representing your country there?
I have some memories of my time there. Not a lot. I do remember when I was, younger, and I played rugby, and you may not have as much equipment. Yeah, I used to play barefoot. I played rugby barefoot, and we used to run track because I did cross country as well. Used to do that barefoot, but it was nothing to me. That's just a part of the culture. Yeah, that's how it is. And when you talk about representing, where I'm originally from, this has more so become my home. But I will never forget where I've come from. Yeah. It's more so that immigrant mind style. Yeah. You come to this country without much and you work to make something of it. And it's a land of opportunity. And we came here and grasped an opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. So for you, tell our fans about your playing days in football. But what's it like playing multiple sports? I feel like now in this generation, it's really important for kids to play multiple sports because coaches love to have versatile players in every sport. So for you, what was it like learning different sports and the different aspects of it and the way you go about the business in sports?
In the professional world, jobs will always appreciate former athletes because there's so much transferable skills that you can have from being an athlete, such as knowing how to be coached, understanding the process of hard work, being able to take criticism, knowing You need to be able to watch film, watch the things that you've done from the past, and make sure those same mistakes don't happen again. There's so many things that you can learn in life and in sports that come together. You have to learn how to lose and continue to focus on being better the next week. So there's a lot of different things that you can learn in sports that are going to help you as an adult. Now, the thing about most athletes is you have to be able to transfer those skills.
Yeah.
So those are all skills that you learn with sports. Once you understand those skills and apply them to your real life as well, being able to picture what you're going to do in the game. You have to have that confident mindset. You bring that into the corporate world. You have to be able to picture that you're going to have a good day. You have to be able to picture what's going to happen that's good. There's so many things that come with it. And playing multiple sports taught me that.
So what was it like being a football player? And did you get to learn multiple positions in football? And tell our fans, what was your high school and college experience like playing football?
I played wide receiver in high school, running back, and I was also in Pop Warner. I started playing when I was about 12 years old, and man, playing multiple positions. It's fun in high school because you don't get off the field. Yeah, I'm doing everything. They got me on special teams. That you're just out there competing and learning the game, and having fun, just being a kid. And learning multiple positions can teach you a lot about the game and being able to understand the game. And then in college, I played wide receiver, but I would go from the outside to the inside at times. And learning the slot spot and the split receiver spot it's two different positions in a sense, but it's also the same skill sets required. So being able to master or learn a number of different skill sets can always help you apply those skills. One of the best things somebody can know is transferable skills.
Yeah.
Being able to learn something in a different aspect or in a different field, and then bring the skills from that and help them excel your next whatever other field you're trying to do stuff in.
Yeah. So for you, what was the college atmosphere like playing in front of those fans? And did you obviously you went through so many injuries throughout your career, but do you ever think to yourself, maybe I could have if you went to like CFL, Canadian Arena Football League? Did you ever think about those leagues? Or and tell us if you did you participate in like the combine and all?
Those weren't really my thoughts.
Yeah.
When I got to college, I think my biggest thing was I knew what I was trying to be.
Yeah.
And I think I saw after a while the skill level that people have in the league. And my dream wasn't necessarily towards the league anymore. I had found something else that I was passionate about, but I loved football and I wanted to be the best that there possibly was, because that was my mindset. And playing it over to the next level, after a certain while, my body was just beat up, man. And it hurt. Like after a certain while, let me tell you, football is an accident every single time, a car accident every single time you collide. So playing ever since I was 12, and then high school, and I had injuries in high school too, and then battled through injuries in college. Every year I was having some type of procedure or having to recover from something. And I think I just reached that point where I was like, I'm at peace when I'm done, because I even did a red shirt year after I got hurt my senior year and came back and played another year. So I always knew what I wanted to be. It's important to know what you want to be in life, because then you can put all your energy and attention towards that.
Yeah. So what was it? How tough is it for you? What was it like playing with the torn meniscus? You said you played with the torn meniscus, and did you tell anyone, or you just went with it during that season?
So it was my junior year. That was the year that, usually your junior year is when you're set to be the best. And in training camp, I was probably, in the best shape that I've ever been. Everyone was looking like, damn, see, you definitely put in the work this summer. And in training camp, I ended up getting wrapped up, didn't get thrown to the ground, but my foot got caught in the turf and then it twisted and I tore my lateral meniscus. And I got an MRI and everything. The doctors confirmed it, and they basically just said, listen, you can either miss 4 to 6 weeks or you can play with it the whole season and try and deal with the pain. And I wasn't going to miss those 4 to 6 weeks. So I played with it the whole season, and it was a constant battle. I basically couldn't practice Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I would go like 50%. Thursday I would ramp it up a little bit more, then Friday just shut it down. So it was a lot of management, and that just taught me adversity. Everything in life, good or bad, happens for a reason. And it's at the end of the day, it's all meant to be good for you.
Wow. Yeah, so this is how I learned when I was growing up. It's always important to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. So for you, for especially for athletes, how important is it to have a backup plan if the career doesn't work out or something goes wrong? And obviously, you were studying communications when you were in college too. So how important is it for athletes to have a backup plan if they don't work out with their football career or whatever sport they play?
I think the biggest thing is to what is your dream?
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what your dream is. What are you completely passionate about? That love right there. Look within something that you can transfer those skills and still kind of deal with it. So let's say, I love football, but I also love to do math, or I love computers. Then I would probably do something that's related to the game with football and computers. It's important to have a backup plan. The reason why I bring all that up, it's important to have a backup plan, but I also think it's important to always chase your dreams and do something that you're truly passionate about. And one of the biggest things for some people is they have a dream, but to them it's so scary that they don't want to pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
But I say always pursue it. But then here's the thing about pursuing your dreams, because there's kids out there that want to go to the league, that want to be in the NBA, and that's their dream. Chase that dream. Do everything that you possibly can to go after that dream. When I had the opportunity to go after that dream, I did go after it. But I think it's also important to be realistic with yourself and have that backup plan, in the sense of, all right, if this doesn't work out, because one of the biggest dreams that kids have is going to the league. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't work out, what else are you going to do? Because that plan right there, there's not a lot you can fall back on. Some guys coach, some guys will forever still try to get to the league. And I've had teammates that have gone to the combine, been free agents and looked at by teams, but that chase ended up ending, but they were at peace with the chase at the end of the day. But you also still had a slow start to what you wanted to do and chase and figure out what you want to be in life. So figure out what it is that you want and then chase that.
Yeah. So do you, tell our fans if you have any like best moments or memorable games as a football player, and any best moments also as a basketball player and a track star.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of games that that I look back on, and I'm just, it was fun. There was one game where I think I had like 150 something yards receiving, and it was just a offensive game. There's games where I caught the game-winning touchdown. And you never forget the celebrations with your teammates. But when I look back on all that, that really doesn't define what meant the most to me and what I cherish the most from playing sports. It's about those relationships. Yeah. It's about learning how to be a team player. It's about the lessons learned. It's about the things that just made me realize, okay, this can also relate towards life. And even after I was done playing, I coached high school football for a year. Oh, wow. I just love the process, the grind, the culture, the community and the family of sports, because once you relate with each other, it doesn't matter if you're black or white from somewhere else, it's just all love.
Yeah. So speaking of coaching, obviously after your playing days, and what was it like being a coach in high school, sharing your playing experience, your stories to the kids you coached, and What was it like helping these young kids get better at football?
The thing about football that you'll hear most coaches say is we're trying to help these guys become better men and give them direction. When you're a kid and you have nothing, you're growing up in a bad area, and there's all these influences. Sports is your getaway. Sports is the one thing where you submit to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in a coach and you look up to a coach and he inspires you and he motivates you, they can speak to a certain part of you that even your parents are incapable of getting in touch with. And I knew how I wanted to be coached, and I know how these kids would want to be coached. And it was one of the best experiences in my life. Uh, Being a coach and being able to inspire and empower others, because I feel like that's my purpose. We all have a purpose in this world, and mine is to inspire and empower, and being able to do that and even understand the game more from an X's and O's perspective was a great experience. And as a coach, one thing I quickly realized is it's more of a commitment than being a player, because you're paying attention to so many different things. And I coached the wide receivers, and I would always come in with drills, always come in prepared. But that was when I was working a crazy schedule of, the way that I got up. And my career was first starting off as a teleprompter worker from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then after doing that, I would go to Gillette Stadium and help with Patriot stuff, as a production person. Like, I don't even have I just hold a microphone, and then I would go and coach, So I just did so much during that point in my life. And that was kind of, just a lot of lesson learned, a lot of character building. But my relationship with those kids, it was really fun. And I recently on Thanksgiving, I went to my school's Thanksgiving football game, and everybody usually comes back home for it. Yeah. And I saw a lot of the kids that I've used to coach for the first time in like 4 years.
Wow.
And they ran up to me and they're like, "Yo, Skubie, we still talk about you till this day, coach. You were the best coach I ever had." Like, yo, it's so good. That right there, I've had coaches that I'll forever, if I ever see them, I'm like, "Yo, Coach Crawford, Vernon Crawford, used to play for the Patriots. Best coach, one of the best coaches I ever had." And you just never forget those relationships, because when a coach loves you and he's cool, but he's also tough on you. And those are the best coaches. The ones that don't play around, but they're also going to joke around with you, and make it fun, but they also expect a lot from you, and they care, That's how it was for me.
Were you a hard-nosed coach or no?
No. I was strict in terms of discipline and the little things, but we're playing football. Let's have fun. Mm-hmm. You can take it serious when it's time to get serious. But as we're playing this game, listen with purpose, move with purpose, have a direction. If we say have your feet behind the 25-yard line, there's absolutely no reason why your foot should be touching that line or your toes should be on it. It's the little things of everybody run to the ball until the second whistle is blown. Sprint, be on time, 15 minutes. There's so many little things that the good programs enforce daily and consistently, that if you understand those little things, and all of a sudden what I've been talking about is transferable skills, you bring those little things towards the game, and you're going to understand that you have to be disciplined in order to be successful. Yeah.
So for you now, transitioning from a football player, now you're a ESPN host. You used to work for TV6. So what's it been like for you to cover as a reporter the sport on a different aspect, not on the field? Obviously, you've been on the field as a reporter too. So what's it like covering sports in a different viewpoint?
So there's a lot of different positions that you can do when it comes down to being a talent, and your typical path of getting to this point as a TV talent at ESPN is starting somewhere small. So the way that I explain it to people is there's 210 markets in the entire country. There's a Nielsen DMA markets. And those markets are ranked based on the TV market, the audience that you reach. So rank number one in the world is New York. Number two is I think San Francisco or LA. And then number three is Chicago. So basically the big cities, right? Boston is in the top 10. So I knew I wanted to go to ESPN the second that I got into college. So that was the goal. And one of my internships at Channel 7 News, the sports director sat me down. He's like, what do you want to do? And this is why it's important to have mentors. It's important to do internships. It's important to know what you want to do, because the people that are in that industry will tell you what steps are necessary and what you're about to do next. So he sat me down and he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a sports anchor and I want to be on ESPN. He said, all right, you're going to have to end up moving to some middle place, nowhere state. He's like, are you willing to do that? I was like, yes. He's like, okay. So when I graduated, I couldn't even get a job. So first job that I ended up getting was as a teleprompter worker. I told you 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. But then I networked my way into the sports department and I said, yo, I'm only here because I'm trying to do what you guys are doing. So how can I do it? And then I ended up having Brian Solomon, OG, my mentor, shout out to him. Wow. And he just mentored me, and he would take me to New England Patriots media days, every Patriots home game. But the catch to that was I had to be clocked out because I was a teleprompter worker. I was on the bottom of the barrel in terms of jobs. So after I did that for 19 months, I kept on applying. And the only job that offered me to come out there, and remember, I said there's 210 markets, was market 208. 208 was the only place that even gave me an interview. But I applied for 50 plus places. So I was like, all right, kind of came in with that Tom Brady 6-round mindset, but I'm undrafted. That's how excuse me. I'm undrafted to this point. So I go out there, market 208. They offered me the job, little pay. They told me they couldn't even pay for my moving expenses. I said, I don't care. As long as I have an opportunity to get in the league, cool. So when you're in these markets, you do everything. Going back towards your question of what hats, how is it to wear different hats and do different things in the field? Well, I am producer, I am cameraman, I am editor, I am reporter, I am anchor, I am digital person. You do everything. And that's the way that this field kind of requires most people to come up. Other people have different paths, but if you want to get into this field, this is the typical thing that you want to do. Maybe it's not 208, but there's a typical thing that you have to do. So what I ended up doing was doing all that. I would go to a game, shoot 2-3 games, drive there. I drive to the games. I shoot the games for like 15 minutes, go to another game and shoot and shoot and shoot. So that's how I learned to be a video man. But I also had to do stand-ups by myself as a reporter with no cameraman behind you. So you set up your tripod, you set up your shot, and you sit there and you talk and you do that. And then you edit video behind it. So I did all that, and then I'll go back to the studio and anchor. So there's a lot of different hats that you wear coming up in your career. I was in Michigan. It was Alpena, Michigan, a small town with 8,000 people and 30 Black people population. And then after being there for 19 months, I got my second job at KWQC that you mentioned there in Iowa. I was there for 3 years doing similar things, but with a little more resources. And that market was market 103. So I went from market 208 to 103, and you do the same thing. It's even more. I do digital stuff. I anchor. I'm a host. Sometimes I analyze, but you have to do all these stuff yourself. And then after I was there for 3 years, I came to ESPN. So at ESPN, you wear a lot of different hats. Yeah. Sometimes I'm a host. Sometimes I'm an analyst. Sometimes I'm a host analyst. Sometimes I just do a segment. Sometimes I'm an anchor where I do a whole show by myself or a co-host. And I've been a sideline reporter as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I've learned that coming up through my career. And it's almost like a boot camp, if you would say, or some people, I tell them it's like grad school for our industry.
Wow, that's amazing. And same thing like me, like I told you before the show that I'm connected with Katie now, and she's going to help me get a job, hopefully at ESPN. And I applied to a lot of ESPN jobs yesterday, and hopefully they look at my resume and see how hard I worked. And hopefully I get the opportunity with you guys and possibly working with you guys pretty soon. So hopefully.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I wish you the best of luck, and you never know what could happen. And it's all about getting in front of the right person. And it's not about what you know, sometimes it's about who you know.
Yeah. So speaking of connections, obviously it's really important to network in this business. And for you working in ESPN, what's it been like being working with Katie, and you worked with worked with Jay Harris and even Gary, Jen Letta, uh, Christine Williamson. I can go down the list. Nabil Kareem, like I mentioned before, or Tony Collins. So what's it been like for you networking with all these amazing ESPN talent?
Everybody that's here at ESPN has been through a similar path that I mentioned, and we're all very grateful to be in our position. And it's such a great energy when you meet these people, because it's like, man, you made it. You know, we all made it. We're all here at the worldwide leader, and you didn't get here because you weren't a hard worker. You didn't get here because you don't love your job. Everybody loves what they do here. And that's the beautiful part about it. And the teamwork is even more beautiful. The people who keep the lights on at ESPN are the ones who work behind the camera. The producers, the cameramen, all those, the directors, they help us, they make us look good, and we're talent. And it's such a great community of people encouraging each other. And it's been good to just work around them, because when you see how people in the industry are performing, and you get to watch their process and see how they prepare, and literally sit next to them as they do what they do, you pick up things from them and you learn things from them. So it's just been a blessing to be around that energy consistently.
Yeah. So what did you guys learn from the past year? Obviously, when the pandemic started at 2020, and then obviously 2021 with the sports shutdown, and 2021 starting the sports coming back slowly, and then 2022 we still are in the pandemic, but sports are active now. So what have you guys learned as a reporter, anchor, host, reporter, sideline host? So what have you guys learned over the past in these 2 years span?
You can get a lot done on Zoom. That's what a lot of us have learned. The beginning of the pandemic, I was still in Iowa, and I couldn't leave the apartment. I needed to create content. And the way that I had to create content is schedule a lot of Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. You could get a lot done with Zoom, and a lot done with video stuff. And of course, we've also learned, to just cherish life and cherish what you have, cherish sports. Until before the pandemic, I think some people may have taken it for granted. And then when we lost sports, it was like, man, I miss that. I love that. That sports are one of the things that keeps a lot of people's life intact and motivated. There's so many things that comes from it. So just having sports back is a blessing as well, that we've learned from it.
Yeah, so speaking of Zoom calls, then you guys must have been busy throughout the pandemic. And what's it like for you making these video reels now, being in back in the studio? And you guys make some great videos, by the way, and highlights. And what's that been like for you?
It's been a blessing, man, to have an opportunity to be on campus. I just started working at ESPN in October, so there's people who have been at ESPN for years and aren't even allowed to go on campus because of COVID rules. So it's been a lot of remote work, and it's a huge campus that is almost like a college campus at times. But because of COVID, everything's separated. So I get an opportunity to go on campus and to be in studio and experience how it is to be in such a big studio that is ESPN, the worldwide leader. And it's surreal. It's hard to put into words how grateful I am every single day that I go through those gates.
Yeah. So tell our fans, what would you say your best moment or funniest moment so far with ESPN, and the best video reel you've ever made?
The best video reel? Are you meaning like the ones on Instagram? Or are you talking about like some of the best stuff that I've had fun with at work?
No, the bad stuff you have fun with work, I should say, and also like any funny moments during your work career at ESPN.
Let me think. Yeah, when we were at the Orange Bowl in Miami, Jason Fitz and Mike Golick Jr. Really good friends. Those two are like brothers, and we had a different set. So we had the set right outside the stadium by the College Game Day set, and we had a game set up for Fitz and Golick, and they were dressed in their clothes, their regular clothes, and we did a trivia game where the loser would get 2 gallons of orange juice dumped on their head because it was the Orange Bowl. So I was the host of that little game show that we had between them, and they had to answer questions separately at the as I offered them. It was almost like Jeopardy, like put your hand up, who has what. So we did that, and it was hilarious because Fitz ended up losing, and they were really competitive, and Golick was dumping orange juice on this man.
Oh my God.
And this is before the game started. I'm talking big jugs of orange juice, and he had to be in a kiddie pool holding a sign basically saying he's a loser. And and this is on our live broadcast, and it was hilarious. And Fitz was sticky with orange juice for the next couple of hours, and it was just a funny moment on TV with them.
Wow, we also had Mike Golick Jr. on the show too.
Okay.
It was an honor talking to him. What a great guy. Obviously, he has a great show on ESPN with Shanae. It's amazing.
Yeah, Mike is a great guy. He's somebody else that specifically that the more I've gotten to work with him, I'm just like, damn, this dude is good. Like, I got to step my game up. And I've just learned from sitting next to him and just hearing him talk.
Yeah, so for you, what's it been like having sports back and even fans back in these stadiums? And obviously, you guys have now a lot of things to talk about when it comes to content and news updates or whatever. So what's it been like for you just to have the sports back and talk about it with fans included?
It's a lot more interactive. Fans at the game, they add that energy, and players always say that home field advantage is very real. So when you're watching a game, and last year the NBA during the pandemic, the NBA had to pump fan sound into the game because it sounds so lame without the fans. So having real fans back at games, it's good to have that energy and feel it sometimes through the television, especially at football games. So I enjoy it. I'm sure the fans enjoy it, and the interactions that fans have with players sometimes even make our broadcast. They give us content. Kyrie Irving was yapping with a fan at the Cavaliers game, just on Tuesday, and it's kind of funny that happens, and it's content we get to create.
Yeah, and speaking of, you gotta tell Stephen A. Smith to stop hating on my Cowboys, man. This guy hates on my Cowboys all the time. But for you, so I want to ask you though, what would you say your most memorable interview you have done in person or on a Zoom call? But in person, what do you say your most memorable interview you've done so far?
Man, most memorable interview. That's tough. I mean, I guess I'd have to go back to one that I don't know if I want to give it to that. Let me think. You know what? My most memorable interview was probably when I was at KWQC, and this isn't even a interview with somebody famous. One of the interviews that I did was with a kid that basically had to deal with some racial, issues, and that interview with him was my most memorable one because we were helping educate the audience on certain racial topics. So when you talk about most memorable, that was memorable to me because, it dealt with something more important than sports and more important than, something funny or things of that nature. And it was real. It was real conversations. It was a real discussion, and people learned something from it. And being able to use my platform to help educate people and get people to just understand a perspective or see one in a different view, it's powerful. So that's definitely my most memorable one. And I've had a lot of different interviews, even with celebrities. I would say if you want to talk about my most memorable one in terms of funny, that would have to be with Boba Fett from Star Wars in
Wow. Okay.
In the new Star Wars series on Disney Plus. He was on the Friday kickoff show with me and Jason Fitz.
Yeah.
And this dude was hilarious. I mean, before he was in Iceland, and he said it was like 11 something in the morning, and he had been running on the beach or working out. He was fired up. You could tell. And he was a funny character. He's like, "Hey, I'm about to do this show called The Kickoff.
Yeah.
We're going to talk American football." And he was pumped, and just a great character. And I didn't expect that because his character on Star Wars is so serious, but he was such a joy to speak to, and I was smiles the entire interview.
Oh, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that story with the young kid. And it's all about diversity now, equality in this generation. And to have that kid to go through that, it's just horrible. And thank you for sharing that. If you don't mind me asking, where's that kid now?
He's still in Iowa. I'm pretty sure this is probably his senior year.
Oh wow.
But yeah, it was a story that even hit on CNN.
Yeah.
But when you're out in the thing about local news is the ones that dig deeper into the local stories. So it got onto CNN, and it was picked up by them on an article. And I was one of the few people to actually go and speak to the mom, to the kid, and other people as well. So it was a lot. It was, when I look back on my career, that's one of the things that really my heart and my passion was in it. And I could relate because, I understood what the kid was going through. Yeah. And to be able to give such important topics a platform is important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. And now going back to the NFL playoffs, what are your thoughts so far on these NFL playoffs? And like I said, Stephen A. Smith, stop hating on my Cowboy. I'm a huge Cowboy fan, and I don't know what happened to us in the last second. But for you, as an ESPN host, what's it been like for you watching these NFL playoffs so far? We got the division round coming up this weekend, and just tell me what happened at the end with the Cowboys too.
Well, these playoffs have been interesting. We added the extra game to the season, right? And we've only gotten one team getting a bye, and it's been different seeing that Tom Brady having to go through the wild card. He doesn't do that, so it's been an interesting playoffs, and it's been a kind of a snooze fest in the sense of blowouts. But there's been broken records. I mean, Josh Allen's game was ridiculous. He had more touchdowns than he had incompletions. And he's the first Bills quarterback to ever rush for 5 touchdowns. I mean, to throw for 5 touchdowns in a game. And then we got Patrick Mahomes. He's got the Chiefs all gassed up back to where they want to be. 5 touchdown passes. Efficient, Travis Kelce looking good. The offense is clicking, and the defense has finally picked up, because at one point in the season, it was the Chiefs' offense that was really good, but then it was their defense that was struggling. Then it became the offense struggling and the defense good, and now the offense is where they need to be, and the Chiefs are looking scary. But then we got the Titans and Derrick Henry coming back this week, which is changed the dynamic, because they were somehow able to stay the number 1 seed, and they didn't have Derrick Henry. Now they have him back. So it's going to entice people to stuff the box even more. And man, it's just a lot going on in these playoffs. I'm excited to see it. My Patriots got whooped. Your Cowboys, I don't know what was going on. That right there is what you call situational football. And that's what teams have to be able to go through those scenarios and understand what you have to do at that point in time. It goes back towards the little things. And I brought this up when I was talking about my coaching background. And Bill Belichick is the master of little things and the master of situational football moments. So his players would understand that when you want the ball to be snapped and save time, you have to give it to the referee first, and then you can snap the ball. Now, what the Cowboys did was they lined up and they got in position to snap the ball without knowing they have to give it towards the referee.
Yeah.
The referee had to squeeze through the center and the guard, tripped because they were almost, trying to just snap the ball, had to touch the ball, and then he repositioned it too far. And then he was like, wait, let me bring it up a little bit more. And that all is crucial time. And they only needed one more second. And if you would have known in situational football moments that that's what you're supposed to do, then they would have saved that time. And that's what the Cowboys have lacked in all season. There's been a number of situational football moments where they needed to excel and they failed. And there was that one game where Mike McCarthy should have called a timeout and never did. I know you remember that. So it's a reflection of who they are. It's a reflection of what team they are, and it's what ended up making them get bounced out the playoffs.
See, I mean, this was our best chance to win the Super Bowl this year, and they blew it. But do you agree with the play when Dak ran the ball? I think we had 2 shots at the end zone at that point. I think he could have thrown one more time, get the player out of bounds. You never know what the situation can happen. But do you agree with him running at that time with 14 seconds left?
Yeah. He may have taken a couple of steps too much. Maybe he should have had a better feel for it, but I like what he did. He got the yards, and maybe he should have went for the sideline. You know, as soon as he got there, look for the sideline and or get a little less yards. But I do agree with it. But like I said, if I would agree with him more if he knew what he was supposed to do in that situation to have the referee snap it, because then you're going to do it and you're going to know what to do. I guarantee you going forward, teams are going to make sure they know what they're supposed to do in that situation. And we all would have agreed with it if he would have ended up holding on to the ball, giving it to the ref, then snapped it, they would have been good.
Yeah. So a couple more things here before I let you go. Who do you have in the Super Bowl actually?
Wow, that's a tough one. I haven't really thought it's a wide open race. I think the NFC is going to end up being you're going to see a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers NFC championship, in my opinion. I think the 49ers are going to give the Packers a problem. Yes, most definitely. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, will he be able to perform against that defense? I doubt it. So more so, I see a Packers Chiefs Super Bowl,
right?
But I won't be surprised if I see, let's say, a Bucks Titans Super Bowl or something like that, because the Titans, man, they're just, we don't know what the hell they are right now, but their ceiling is incredible. So I'm excited to see that Titans Bengals game. That's probably one of the most interesting games of the week as well. I mean, all of them are good, honestly.
Yeah, for me, I got either the Bengals, I got the Buccaneers Bengals or the Buccaneers Titans going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. It's a possible matchup. All these teams are capable of doing something, and that's what you want at this point in time.
Speaking of the Chiefs, last week I was able to talk to Patrick Mahomes' father before the playoffs started, and it was an honor talking to him. And his father told me that he was already locked in, ready for the game, and look what he did against the Steelers. But man, this an honor to perfect timing just to talk to his father and to see what's going through his son's head when it comes to a playoff game. So it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. It's a testament to what type of player Patrick Mahomes is, and we've seen it time and time again, and they're still getting wins. So let's not forget who the Chiefs are.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts so far on the NBA season? Crazy NBA season. We're already halfway through. the Lakers are playing 500 basketball, which is crazy. But what are your thoughts on this NBA season so far?
A lot of young stars, and it's surprising to see some old stars still doing it. You know, Chris Paul, LeBron James. It's crazy to see them still playing at such a high level, and you love to see it. LeBron James has found the Tom Brady fountain of youth, but now we're approaching the NBA trade deadline, and that's really when you start to see the season change. I've always said the NBA season doesn't begin until Christmas, or until right after Christmas. So now this is when teams are cementing who they are, and they know what trajectory or ceiling they have. So the Lakers have to make a move, and they have to make a move soon. And they're one of the biggest trade candidates in the league of the Indiana Pacers. They got Karis LeVert, who has said he's willing to move. Dante Sabonis willing to move. You know, they have a number of guys on their roster. Miles Turner, willing to move. And those are guys who can pretty much play at an all-star level. So the Lakers have to make a move. The Nets, it's this whole saga with Kyrie Irving and then Kevin Durant getting hurt, huge, 4 to 6 weeks out. And now James Harden, he said he's open to maybe moving. Does something happen with them moving Ben Simmons? There's a lot, and the NBA is one of the most drama-filled professional leagues, and it's like a Kardashian show or something like that, because you just have fun watching it all unfold. And it's been a fun NBA season, and it's about to get even better.
All right, do we just get a hot take from Skubie here? You said Harden is open to moving from Brooklyn?
Yeah, he didn't sign his extension at the beginning of the season that would hold him there for a couple of years, but he's open to moving. Doesn't mean he's open to relocation. Doesn't mean that he will, but the reports are he's open to relocation.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's some big news there. So before we get to the last two things, what was your thoughts on the national championship game? And did you get to go with the crew?
Yeah, I was there. We did a pregame show from the national championship in Indy, and we had a mega cast going on. My thoughts on it was Georgia, great team. They deserve that win. I thought Bama could have made it a different game had they had not had so many injuries. Jameson Williams going down was huge. I mean, the play that he went down was a bomb in the middle of the field where he was already wide open. And when you look back to the SEC championship game, he was the X factor he was the X factor that wasn't named Bryce Young, and Bryce Young was finding him. And then they lost Mechie in that game, the SEC championship. And that happened late in the game, I think in the third quarter, if I remember correctly. And he was already chewing them up as well. So I think this Alabama team really relied on those receivers. And without them, it was a wrap, because guys like Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis on that defense, come on now. Ain't no way you stopping that. I knew it was game time when that happened. It was game over when that happened. So to see Georgia get that win, they deserved it. Stetson Bennett played lights out, quieted the haters, because all the haters want to have something to say about him. So it was good to see, and I enjoyed it. And the people in Atlanta, they needed that win, because they've been seeing the Atlanta Falcons disappoint them over and over again.
Hey, but now they're championship city. You got the Braves now winning, and now Georgia. I'm happy for Ellie Duncan. Katie said that Ellie went so crazy after the game. And what was it like seeing Ellie Duncan celebrate live like that?
I wasn't with her celebrating, but she was on our megacast, and she was going ape crazy on our megacast about the game. She gave this whole pregame speech and talking about how Georgia deserves this, and she was pumped. So it was good to see that for Elle, because she's such a huge Georgia fan, and it's been a fun season seeing her rub her fandom in everyone's face.
Yeah. So now the last few things here before I let you go, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach. He's now the head coach for the Grambling State team, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe, the kids stay safe. So we'll send you the foundation so you can check it out.
Thanks, man.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and all the essential workers right now?
I appreciate y'all for everything that you do. I have close friends and family that work in that industry, and they're on the front lines, and we've all seen them being on the front lines, and they're not getting paid enough to do what they do, and they're not getting anything enough to do what they do. So thank you for doing things out the kindness of your heart because you care for those people around you in the community.
Yeah, well said. And there you have it. That wraps up episode 966 with former football player, former basketball player, former track star, Skubie Mageza. Now he works for ESPN. He's a jack of all trades. You can call him a host, anchor, video reel. Well, he does everything with ESPN. And first of all, go follow him on all social media formats. Go check out his stuff. He has some great content. Skubie, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor and learning your story. I learned a lot today, and keep up the great work. And like I said before, maybe you never know, I will be working with you and Katie pretty soon, hopefully. But we would like to have you back on the show down the line, so you can meet the full team. But man, just keep up the great work. Like I said, you're awesome. You're awesome what you do, and you guys have the best crew in my opinion. And I'm hoping I can be part of it. But keep up the great work and stay safe.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you too.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Bye.